three teenage voices changed history. The Paris sisters, Barbara Mason and Little Peggy March, topped charts with timeless ballads, then disappeared into scandal and silence. What really happened to them? The 1960s music scene was a whirlwind of innovation and chaos, a place where a single song could catapult an unknown artist to immortality, only for them to vanish without a trace just as quickly. These are the stories of the voices that defined an era and the fragile humans behind the vinyl. Here are 10 forgotten one-hit wonders of the 1960s, and the last entry will shock you. Number 1. Bottle of Wine, the Fireballs 1967. The Fireballs were already veterans by 1967, hailing from Raton, New Mexico. They had carved out a niche in the late 1950s and early 60s as a formidable instrumental surf rock band, with tracks like Bulldog showcasing their clean, reverb-drenched guitar work, but by the mid-60s, their sound was becoming passe. In a desperate bid for relevance, they reinvented themselves. Merging with singer Jimmy Gilmer to become Jimmy Gilmer and the Fireballs, their reinvention culminated in the raw, stripped-down folk rock of Bottle of Wine. The tune, written by folk singer Tom Paxton, was a world away from their polished instrumentals. It was gritty, straightforward, and dripping with a weary barroom authenticity. Gilmer's vocals, ragged and full of character, contrasted sharply with their earlier clean sound, and the gamble paid off. The song climbed to number 9 on Billboard's Hot 100 and sold nearly 1 million copies, giving the group a brief, unexpected second life. But it was a last gasp. The psychedelic revolution, with its mind-bending studio effects and complex social commentary, was sweeping the nation. The simple, honest plea of Bottle of Wine was quickly drowned out by the likes of the Beatles, SGT, Peppers, and Jefferson Airplanes. Surrealistic Pillow. The Fireballs' momentum evaporated almost overnight, leaving this raucous drinking anthem as their final, enduring marker in pop history, a toast to a bygone era. Number 2. The Boy from New York City, the Ad-Libs, 1965. In 1965, doo-wop was evolving, and the Ad-Libs perfectly captured its new, sassy spirit with The Boy from New York City. This wasn't a ballad of pining love. It was a playful, street-smart ode to a sharp-dressed urban dreamboat. The track was a masterclass in call-and-response vocals, with the group's smooth harmonies playfully bouncing off Marianne Thomas's spirited lead. Its infectious energy and swagger resonated with audiences from coast to coast, propelling it into the top 10 on the Billboard chart and selling over 1 million copies. The Ad-Libs had the talent and the hit, but they lacked the machine. Signed to the small Blue Cat label, they suffered from poor promotion and distribution. While Motown groups were becoming household names with slick marketing campaigns, the Ad-Libs were left to fend for themselves. They struggled to secure high-profile bookings and radio play for their follow-up singles. Despite their dazzling moment in the spotlight, they never returned to national prominence. The song, however, was too good to fade away. It resurfaced decades later, finding new life in covers by Darts, and, most famously, the Manhattan Transfer. But for the Ad-Libs themselves, The Boy from New York City was both a blessing and a curse, a ticket to fame that arrived at the wrong station, leaving them waiting on a platform that never saw another train. Number 3. Do You Love Me, The Contours 1962. The story of Do You Love Me is a classic Motown tale of second chances and raw energy. Berry Gordy had a song he knew was a hit, but the polished acts he first offered it to passed. In walked the Contours, a group known more for their frantic, electrifying live performances than their vocal finesse. They had been rejected from Motown auditions multiple times, but their relentless energy caught Gordy's eye. As a last-minute gamble, he handed them the song. The result was pure lightning. Driven by Billy Gordon's raspy, desperate lead vocal and the group's explosive performance, Do You Love Me became an instant dance floor command. The question, Do you love me now that I can dance, was less a query and more a challenge. It hit number 3 on Billboard and sold over 1 million copies, helping to establish the raw, energetic side of the Motown sound. Yet, as Motown polished its image into the sound of young America, the Contours' raw, unvarnished energy became a liability. They were overshadowed by the smoother Temptations and the pop-savvy Supremes. They couldn't replicate the magic of their one massive hit. The ultimate irony came 2 decades later. when the song was resurrected as the centerpiece of the 1987 film Dirty Dancing. Suddenly, a new generation was shouting the lyrics, cementing the song's cultural immortality, while its original performers remained a footnote in its history. Number 4. Alley-Oop, the Hollywood Argyles, 1960. Alley-Oop was a product of the novelty song craze, a gloriously silly smash born from a comic strip caveman. Producer and songwriter Gary Paxton assembled a ragtag group of studio musicians under the name the Hollywood Argyles to record the track in 1960, with its stomping rhythm, nonsensical lyrics, and playful energy. It was an unlikely candidate for number 1, but it captured the playful, innocent spirit of the time, hitting the top spot on Billboard and selling over 1 million copies. The song's success was a fluke, and everyone involved knew it. The band was a fiction, a name created for a one-off session. Gary Paxton, who would later become a respected producer and a gospel music star, found himself defined by this cartoonish anthem. He reportedly recorded the entire track, including the memorable ding-dong sound, in just a few hours. The Hollywood Argyles never recorded another major hit because, in essence, they never truly existed. Alley-Oop remains one of the quirkiest chart toppers of the decade, testament to the fact that in the world of pop, sometimes pure, unadulterated fun is all you need. Number 5. Tracy, the Cufflinks, 1969, in the heyday of bubblegum pop. The illusion was often more important than the artist. Such was the case with the Cufflinks and their 1969 hit, Tracy. The song was a perfect slice of orchestral pop, racing to number 9 on Billboard and selling over 1 million copies. Teenagers across America swooned to the tender, earnest vocals. Imagining the handsome band serenading them, the reality was far less romantic. The Cufflinks weren't a band at all. They were the creation of producer Paul Vance, who hired session singer Ron Dante to bring the song to life. Dante, a workhorse of the studio, single-handedly became the Cufflinks, overdubbing his own voice dozens of times to create the lush, multi-tracked harmonies. In an incredible twist of fate, Dante was simultaneously the secret voice behind another massive hit. He was the lead singer for the cartoon band, the Archies on Sugar, which would become the number 1 song of the year. Despite being the voice behind 2 of 1969's biggest hits, Ron Dante remained a ghost in the machine. The Cufflinks never toured. A makeshift band was hastily assembled for promotional appearances, miming to Dante's recordings. Tracy was a studio-born hit with no real group behind it. A poignant example of how, in the music industry, the voice can sometimes be the most disposable part of the product. Number 6. Next Plane to London, The Rose Garden, 1967. The Summer of Love needed its soundtracks, and The Rose Garden, a jangly folk rock band from California, provided a shimmering one with Next Plane to London. With its chiming 12-string guitars, a direct nod to the Birds and yearning lyrics about escape. The song landed at number 17 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1967. It perfectly captured the wanderlust and romantic idealism of the era. A significant part of the band's appeal was vocalist Diana Dre, one of the few women fronting a rock group at the time. In a male-dominated scene, her clear, resonant voice gave the band a distinct and compelling identity. They seemed poised for a breakthrough, but the pressures of sudden fame and the internal dynamics of a young band proved too much. Despite the promising debut, the Rose Garden collapsed after just 1 album, unable to navigate the whirlwind they had summoned. Next Plane to London endures as a beautiful, sun-drenched relic of its time, a ticket to a destination the band itself never reached. Number 7. Turn Down Day, The Circle, 1966. The Circle had a pedigree that was the envy of every garage band in America. Discovered and managed by Brian Epstein, they were handpicked to open for the Beatles on their final, chaotic 1966 US tour. Their very name, a misspelling suggested by John Lennon, linked them irrevocably to the biggest band in history. Their moment in the sun came with Turn Down Day, a mellow, sun-soaked anthem of carefree detachment that reached number 16 on Billboard. With the backing of Epstein and the exposure of the Beatles tour, superstardom seemed inevitable, but the music industry is fickle. The band's other single, Red Rubber Ball, co-written by a young Paul Simon, was also a hit. but they struggled to define a unique identity beyond their jangle pop niche. The pressure was immense, and the band splintered by 1967. Just as the Summer of Love gave way to a harder, more cynical rock scene, Turn Down Day remains their most enduring. Gemma, perfect snapshot of a brief golden moment when anything seemed possible, even for a band whose name was a famous friend's playful suggestion. Number 8. Gimme Gimme Good Lovin' Crazy. Elephant, 1969, the bubblegum pop factory of the late 60s. Led by producers Jerry Kasenitz and Jeff Katz's Super K Productions, was a hit-making machine that prioritized product over artists. Crazy Elephant was one. Of their most successful inventions, Gimme Gimme Good Lovin' was a masterpiece of the genre, a pounding, simplistic beat, a chant-like chorus, and a fuzz-tone guitar riff that burrowed into the brain. Released in 1969, it climbed to number 12 on Billboard. The band was, of course, a fiction. The track was played by studio session musicians, with the lead vocal provided by Robert Spencer of the doo-wop group The Cadillacs. It was a calculated assemble-line hit designed for maximum impact and quick disposal. Once the single faded from the charts, the name Crazy Elephant was retired, a brand name on a product that had reached its expiration date. It was pop music as pure, unapologetic commerce. Number 9. Western Union, The Five Americans. 1967, hailing from Oklahoma City. The Five Americans were a tight, professional band that hit their creative and commercial peak in 1967 with Western Union. The song was a marvel of pop inventiveness. Its buzzing, stuttering guitar riff ingeniously mimicked the sound of a telegraph machine, making it one of the most memorable and clever sonic gimmicks of the era. It shot to number 5 on Billboard and sold over 1 million copies, earning them nationwide tours and television appearances. They were not a one-trick pony. Songs like I See the Light also charted respectably, but they could never escape the shadow of their one truly brilliant idea. As the music scene grew more complex and album-oriented, their brand of clever, singles-oriented pop lost its footing. By 1969, the band had dissolved, leaving Western Union as their timeless calling card, a perfect snapshot of how a mundane, everyday sound could be transformed into a moment of pure pop genius. Number 10, 98.6. Keith, 1967. In 1967, as rock music began to grapple with weighty social issues, there was still room for pure, unadulterated joy. That's exactly what singer James Barry Kiefer, known simply as Keith, delivered with 98.6. The song, a cheerful celebration of the perfect human body temperature and the feeling of love it represented, was an unlikely hit. With its buoyant melody, whistled hook, and feel-good lyrics, it shot to number 7 on Billboard and sold over 1 million copies. Becoming a staple on AM radio, Keith toured with massive acts like the Monkees, riding the wave of his success. However, his career was derailed not by a lack of talent, but by the all-too-common music industry story: disputes with his label, Mercury Records. His momentum stalled, and despite recording sporadically for years afterward, he never returned to the charts. 98.6 remains a delightful, warm relic of pop's lighter, more innocent side of 3-minute vacation from the world's problems, courtesy of an artist who provided one perfect moment of warmth. In the tumultuous year of 1967, as rock music amplified the voices of protest and psychedelia stretched the very fabric of sound, there was a surprising, defiantly joyful countermelody playing on AM radios everywhere. It was a simple, sun-drenched tune called 98.6, and it was delivered by a singer known simply as Keith. This cheerful celebration of the perfect human body temperature, a clever metaphor for the warm, healthy feeling of being in love, became an unlikely but desperately needed anthem. In a climate thick with social unrest and complex musical arrangements, 98.6 was a 3-minute vacation, with its buoyant melody, an infectious whistled hook that felt like a stroll on a summer day, and feel-good lyrics penned by the songwriting team of George Fiskoff and Tony Powers. It was pure, unadulterated pop bliss. It shot to number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100 and sold over 1 million copies, cementing itself as a staple on playlists that provided solace and simplicity. The man behind the single was James Barry Kiefer, a talented singer who adopted the moniker Keith for a cleaner, more modern image. He he wasn't a novice. He had been part of the folk group The Treasures and had a solid understanding of the industry. Riding the wave of his unexpected smash hit, Keith was thrust into the big leagues. He embarked on tours, sharing stages with massive, era-defining acts like the Monkees, whose own brand of manic, television-fueled pop was a perfect match for the buoyant energy of 98.6. For a brief, glorious moment, he was in the vortex of pop stardom, the name Keith on the lips of teenagers across America. However, his career was derailed not by a lack of talent or a shifting musical landscape, but by the all-too-common, brutal machinery of the music industry. The catalyst for his downfall was a protracted and bitter dispute with his label, Mercury Records. The details often cited point to conflicts over creative direction, promotion, and the all-important follow-up single. The powerful momentum generated by a million-selling record is a fragile thing, and it stalled completely amidst the legal and artistic gridlock. Without the full force of a supportive label behind him, his subsequent singles, including the follow-up, Ain't Gonna Lie, failed to connect with the same resonance. They vanished into the competitive ether of the radio waves, and Keith's moment in the spotlight faded as quickly as it had arrived. He continued to record sporadically for years afterward, a testament to his enduring passion for music. But he never again graced the national charts. The name Keith, once so promising, became permanently inextricably linked to that one perfect moment of warmth. 98.6 thus endures as more than just a delightful, warm relic of pop's lighter side. It is a bittersweet monument to potential, a reminder of an artist who captured the feeling of perfect contentment in a single song, but whose own career was unable to maintain its own healthy temperature. It remains a flawless snapshot of pop's power to provide pure joy, courtesy of a singer who gave the world one perfect golden hour before the clouds rolled in.